Hello my friends, David Kessler here and welcome back to the studio. Today let's talk about the tyranny of symmetry. Now, I didn't make that up. My business partner for years, Barry, we had an architecture firm together. Barry always said the tyranny of symmetry, and it's true in architecture as in art. If you're trying to compose a building or compose a painting, symmetry is not necessarily going to be your friend. Symmetry, for me, symmetry sort of stands for stability and repose and boredom. Whereas asymmetry, reminds me of movement, energy, and interest. That's what asymmetry provides to a composition, whether that's a building in 3 dimensions or a piece of artwork on a 2-dimensional surface. The idea is the same. And I'm as guilty as anybody else because I don't do any pre-planning for a painting. So sometimes, when the thing's all done, it may end up being more symmetrical than I would like. Sometimes that happens. And there's 3 basic kinds of symmetry when you're subdividing a surface. And I've got those up here. You can subdivide it on the horizontal where the top and the bottom are equal parts. You can do it on the vertical where the 2 sides have equal parts. Or you can do it, what a lot of people don't think about is the diagonal. You can subdivide on the diagonal to create 2 equal parts. And I've seen that one a lot. The one I see the most probably is this one. And that is with lots of amateur landscape painters will do that. They'll put the horizon line right in the middle of the substrate, and then they'll proceed to put the subject matter directly in the center with equal parts on either side. So this one, you'll have equal parts here, and then lots of times they'll have equal parts on either side, so they'll have a double axis of symmetry. Now, when you're composing a painting, symmetry is not going to be your friend because it doesn't lend itself to making an interesting composition. If you have it balanced in another way rather than being completely symmetrical, that will be more interesting. If you have an unbalanced composition, that's going to be more interesting. But if you subdivide equally, let's say this, for instance, we're going to do, so let's say this is sky and water. Right, and we're doing, trees and, the reflection in the water. That's going to lend itself to a lot of symmetry unless you compose it thinking specifically, okay, I want this to be an asymmetrical composition as opposed to one that's symmetrical. And it's easy enough to do that if you go into the painting thinking, okay, let's think about asymmetry. How can I plan for asymmetry as opposed to it being symmetrical? That's going to lend itself to be more interesting to the viewer. And that's what you're looking for, right? So something's going to be more interesting for the viewer so that they're more likely, if you sell your artwork, they're more likely to buy it and be interested in what you're going to do or what you do in your painting. And this, this tyranny of symmetry applies no matter what kind of composition you're doing, whether it's painting, or knitting, or woodworking, or whatever it is. An asymmetrical composition is always going to be more interesting and provide more movement to the eyes of the viewer than if it's symmetrical. All right, so think about that the next time you are approaching a painting, whether you're doing pre-planning or whether you're just doing the painting spontaneously like I do, think about asymmetry. Don't do so much with the symmetry, and I think your work will end up being more interesting to the viewer, and that's what it's all about for those of us who are painters. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next video.